Hi everyone! Today I'm sharing a process video for the last couple of spreads in my Everyday Explorers mini book. This is the Places mini book, and I'll also have a flip through at the very end if you're interested in that. And this is the mini book that I am using to document my trip to Madrid and Barcelona back in 2017. So before I get started on the pages for today, I'm just going to be fixing up a little boo-boo that I made last process video. So if you remember, I had stuck the Güell Palace brochure on the page that was talking about the Güell Park. So I just typed up a bit of journaling about the Güell Palace. I hadn't included any photos in here because the atmosphere was very dark, and so it was very difficult for me to take photos, and so I didn't really have any photos that I really wanted to include in here. But you can see that I'm just cutting down this strip of journaling to size. It's about 6 inches wide by 0.5 inches tall, and I'm just going to stick that in the inside of this interactive flap here and then stamp my date on the back of that tag so that it does acknowledge that this brochure is about the Güell Palace, and then the outside of this interactive element is talking about the Güell Park. Alright, so now that's out of the way, I'm going to be moving on to my next spread, which is going to be documenting the different types of foods that we ate during our trip. So I have 2 business cards here from a couple of the restaurants that we went to, and one of them is already in a tag shape. So I decided I should cut my journaling into a tag shape as well, and the other business card also into a tag shape. And I'm just using my Crop-A-Dial to punch some holes in the top so that I can put some twine through. You'll see that I'm just using my We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper. This is the angle corner chomper to make the tag shape. And this is one of my favorite tools to use for this type of project because then I can make sure that all of my tags look symmetrical on both sides and that they all look kind of the same. And I'm just using some twine from my stash to finish off the top of my tags there. And I just managed to fit all of the 3 elements on this side of the page by cutting down one of those business cards. I was looking for a sticker that could fit right underneath that tag to fill up that empty spot there, and so I decided to do some stamping on this sticker with the My Places prompts stamp set. There's a stamp that says right here with an arrow. And I tried to stamp on this glossy sticker, but unfortunately wasn't able to stamp it perfectly. I think because my archival ink was actually kind of dried up. So I decided to forgo on that sticker and instead pull out one of these cut aparts that says date and place on the bottom, and that fills out that spot perfectly. Just adhering down my elements with my Tombow Mono permanent adhesive tape runner, and as I was looking through the book when I was doing the voiceover for this video, I decided to use some score tape on the back of that right here element, just because that's going over some twine and the twine kind of lifts it off the page, so the score tape just provides a bit of a better stick than the tape runner does. For the left side of my page, I have 3 photos that I put in a collage using my PicFrame app into a 4x6 canvas, and that just prints out the photos at a bit less than 2 inches by 4 inches. And I picked out 3 of these rectangular label pieces that I'm going to do some more stamping in, and this is using the Mealtime Prompts stamp set. I just wanted to fill up some of that empty space that was in those 3 photos. And I just stamped the words "ooh, fancy" for the sangria photo, and "more please" for the middle photo, and "time to eat" for the last photo. I specifically picked the rectangle pieces that were a bit warmer toned in color, so like the pink ones and the yellow one, just because the rest of my photos are more warm toned. And this was the point as well when I realized that my archival ink is starting to run out of ink. So I did switch to my Gina K amalgam ink for my stamping going forward in this video. Moving on to my next spread, this spread is specifically talking about all of the desserts that we had, and I have a big sweet tooth and I love desserts, so obviously we went to a lot of dessert places and I collected a lot of business cards for this page, and so I wanted to make sure that I could pull these business cards off the page to look at the backs of them because there was nice artwork on both sides of some of these, and if in case I want to go back, I maybe want to try some of these places out again. So in order to create a simple pocket for this page, I decided to use my Tim Holtz die. This is called Stitched Slots, and this is specifically designed to hold ephemera bits, as you can see from the packaging. So I just used that die to cut a pocket out of some craft cardstock. I chose a relatively neutral color just because I do have quite a bit of color going on the left side of the page. I'm just using my 1/8" score tape all the way around 3 of the 4 sides of this stitched pocket, and just removing the tape backing here so that I can stick that pocket down onto my page. I left the top open just in case I wanted to slide something behind all of the pockets, but you can see that all of these slots pretty much creates some separate pockets that I can use to store all of these different business cards as well as my journaling tag. To decorate the bottom of this pocket, I just chose one of the cut apart labels that came in this kit. This one specifically is one of the yellow ones. And I'm going to be stamping using the Mealtime Prompts stamp set, the phrase that says "craving satisfied." Because the stamp is relatively small compared to the label, I'm just going to stamp a couple of times in the background with some yellow ink that matches with the yellow in this kit. And I'm just doing some second generation stamping so that it kind of creates a subtle background. So to do that, I'm inking up the stamp, I'm stamping it on some scrap paper, and then I'm taking that without inking it up again and stamping it on the tag. And after I finish creating that subtle background, I'm just using my black ink to stamp that same stamp in the center of the label. For the left side of my spread, I noticed that my photos had a lot of circle-shaped elements in them. So there were the cups and the plates in the first photo, and then there were the circle-shaped biscuits in the last photo. So I decided to pull out these circle-shaped labels here, and I'm just stamping out more of those prompts in those circles. So the first one in the red, I stamped the word yum, and then the second one in the yellow, I stamped the word sweet tooth. And I'm going to be cutting off an edge off each of those circles so that that edge lies flush against the side of the photos. After I finished taping down all of these elements, I decided that I needed to decorate the top right corner of the right page there. So I pulled out this Places stamp. This came in the Places kit. So I'm just using the stamp set to stamp out the phrase "my favorite places" on the top right corner, and "my favorite" is going to be in red and the word "places" is going to be in yellow, and I just stamped them so that "my favorite" overlapped with the word "places" a bit. Just adding one of those circle geotag stickers there to pull in more of those circle shapes. And then I'm just cutting my journaling down to a tag shape and putting in some twine to decorate the top, and that finishes up the spread. I do really love how this interactive page turned out, and the best part is it doesn't actually add that much more bulk to this booklet. For my next page, I didn't actually print out any photos because this is going to be kind of my overall thoughts and impressions on this trip. So I decided to pull out this tourist map that had some of the main highlights of Barcelona shown in larger icons, and I just cut this map to about 4 inches by 6 inches, and I'm just going to be using this for the left side of my page. For the right side of my page, I have a bunch of random ephemera bits that I collected during the trip. So I have like an opera and flamenco ticket stub. I have one of those, what do you call these? Like a Metro Pass ticket. And I have the Metro map itself, as well as some stamps that I bought during the trip to send some postcards home. So it did take me a bit of fiddling around to figure out how much of this I could actually incorporate onto the page and how I wanted to layer the elements. But basically, I wanted there to be some sort of layer with color underneath my journaling tag just to give it a bit more definition so that it actually looks like a tag shape. So after a while, I decided to use the front of this Metro map to use as a background for my journaling tag, just because it does give that bright blue, so it provides a nice background to give definition to the edge of my tag, as well as that Metro Pass there. I decided to use that green edge to give a bit more definition to my tag. I also layered the top part of those stamps to the bottom of my page, and fortunately I was able to keep kind of that pinked edge on the stamps. And I also added one of those stickers there that says "love this" in the pink. For the left side of this spread, I decided to use that circle sticker that says happy place and just put that in the middle of the map. And then I just scattered the geotag stickers, whatever I had left on my sheet, to highlight some of the attractions that we went to during our trip. So I did add a couple more of those geotag stickers after this video. Moving on to my next spread, I decided to take advantage of this grid style layout with the 6 squares on each side to document my bucket list of places that I would like to travel to with my boyfriend. So I have printed out my photos at approximately 1 3/4 of an inch wide and 1.5 inches tall, and I'm just cutting these out so that they can fit into each of those squares. For my first square and my last square, I just have some journaling about where those places are. So for my left side, I have New York City, Wizarding World of Harry Potter, Portland, Japan, and France. And for my right page, I have England, Greece, Czech Republic, Singapore, and New Zealand. For the tops of these pages, I was originally going to stamp places I'd like to visit or something like that, but the places stamp is slightly too tall for that spot at the top, so I just decided to use these circle stickers that say on my bucket list instead. And I did notice that I still had those geotag stickers that matched the on my bucket list stickers, so I decided to add those to the bottoms of the spreads. My very last page will be fairly straightforward, just stamping my date that I finished this booklet, as well as choosing some stickers to cover up that location spot, similar to how I covered it up in my first video. And for that left side of the spread, I just used this quote card that came in our kit. It says, "So much of who we are is where we've been." Just trimming it down slightly all the way around the 4 edges so that there's a bit of a white border around it when I glue it down to this page. And then I added the sticker that says, "Oh wow, love this, awesome." Our kits also came with this little bookmark or label that we're supposed to be using to store with the finished mini book, but I decided to cut off the bottom that says this is a mini book by and date finished, just because I do have that documented right below, and I'm just stapling this to the back of the cover of the mini book so that it serves as kind of like a tab that pokes out when the mini book is closed. And my second mini book that I'm going to be doing, which is the Pep Talks one, I'm going to stagger the same bookmark slightly to the left so that the 02 shows when all of the mini books are stacked on top of one another so that I can easily see which mini book is which. After I stapled it down, I did realize that I forgot to round the corners of this tab before I stapled it, so I did have to remove the staples and then use my corner puncher to round the corners before I stapled it back into place. So here's my tag with the rounded corners, and you'll notice that I also used one of the leftover stickers to cover up the back of that bookmark as well, just because there is some writing on the bookmark that shows even after I've stapled it down into place. And here I'm using my saddle stitch stapler to staple my booklet back into a booklet. Just doing a quick flip through of my finished project here, I really love the way that this turned out, and it didn't even take me too long to make this. It took me about 3 weeks, and I love that I was able to include some ephemera bits that I otherwise might have thrown out, and I love that I was able to include some interactive pages as well. You all know how I love interactive pages. And overall, I think Christine did such a good job putting together this kit. Like everything, just like the way they coordinated and the colors went together and the thought that went behind all of the packaging and the extra like zine and tips and ideas that we got. I just think that this kit was put together really well, and I've subscribed to 6 months of these booklets, so I'm really excited to get started on the Pep Talks one. And of course, I will be doing process videos for those, so stay tuned for that as well. If you liked my video, make sure you hit the thumbs up, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Make sure to subscribe for more videos, and thanks so much for watching.